Hey Kid City, I got a question for you. Do you know how big God is? Well, I don't either. The reason I don't know how big God is, and I'm guessing the reason you don't know how big God is because He is so much bigger and so much stronger than anything or anyone we could even compare Him to. One thing I like to think about when thinking about how big God is outer space, how big the universe is. So today I want to spend a few minutes with you talking about really how big our really big God is. But first, let's read a couple of my favorite verses found in Colossians chapter 1. For by Him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through Him and for Him. And He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. So in those verses, it's telling us that no matter how big our universe is, God made it. Everything that was made, every single thing, from the smallest little toad in the yard to the biggest star in the universe, God made it all. And everything that He made holds together, or everything works the way it's supposed to work because of God's power. So as we talk about how big our universe is, I want you to remember, our big, big God made all of it. So let's start with a fun fact. Did you know that our sun, the star in our solar system, is 93 million miles away? 93 million miles. That's really, really far. When I was growing up, my family liked to go to the beach for vacation. And from my hometown to the beach, I think it took us about 5 hours or so to get there. But it seemed like forever. And it seemed like even longer of a drive because we had to listen to my dad's music. And no matter how many times we heard the song, I still don't know where we're supposed to go when the volcano blows. I just don't know. But did you know that if we got in a car and if we could drive all the way to the sun, it would take us 163 years. 163 years. That is such a long time. That is actually more than 2.5 times as many years as Pastor Tim is old. And that tells us how far away our sun is. Speaking of family beach trips, have you ever made a sandcastle at the beach? I mean, like a really big sandcastle? How much sand did that take? How many little grains of sand do you think went into your big castle that you worked so hard on? You probably can't count them, right? Because it was so many little bitty grains of sand. Well, what's crazy is there are beaches like that all over the world where people could make sandcastles if they wanted to. And there's deserts that has miles and miles and miles in every direction of sand. There's a lot of sand on Earth, a lot of sandcastles that could be made. But even though there's so much sand on the Earth, so many little grains of sand out there, scientists, really smart scientists, tell us that there are more stars out in outer space, out in our universe, that are a lot like our sun than there are grains of sand on the Earth. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on the Earth. Scientists tell us that there could be as many as 3 septillion stars out there. Now, 3 septillion is a really big number. It looks like this. Now, I want to be honest with you and tell you that I don't know how to count that high. That number, too high for me to count. Maybe it is for you too. But that's how many stars that are out there in the universe. That's pretty crazy, right? So many big stars out there. But look at what the prophet Isaiah had to say about stars and God. Lift up your eyes on high and see. Who created these? He who brings out their host by number, calling them all by name. By the greatness of his might, and because he is strong in power, not missing one. That's pretty amazing. I mean, Isaiah is telling us that not only did God create every star in the universe, but he also knows them by name. He has taken the time to give every single star he has created a name. And Isaiah is saying that, hey, look how powerful and strong God is. The only one who can create the stars and even give them a name, give them the true name. But Kid City, I want you to know that just like he knows the name of every star that he made, he knows your name too. And actually, in Luke 12, verse 7, Jesus tells his followers that not only does God know their name, but actually he knows the number of hairs on their head. So think about that. The same God who made all 3 septillion stars, who calls them by name, he knows your name. He knows how many hairs are on your head. He knows everything about you, and he loves and cares for you so much. I mean, think about how much someone must love you and care for you to know so much about your life that he even knows how many hairs are on your head. I think that's pretty cool. So Kid City, here's what I want you to remember. When you get scared, when you get worried, I want you to remember that there is a big God who created everything, including all 3 septillion stars out there, and gave them a name. I want you to remember that he knows you, he loves you, he cares for you, and he will always be there. You can always turn to him. Do you know how I know? Well, because I remember the story of Jesus, and I remember what Jesus came to do for us. You see, it was when we had messed up and we had sinned against God. We had done wrong. We made some pretty big mistakes. And God loved us so much that he sent Jesus Christ, his son, to live a perfect life where he didn't do anything wrong, and to die on the cross to pay for our sins so that we wouldn't have to. And then he rose from the grave on the 3rd day, conquering the enemies that we couldn't beat. He did that. And Paul said in Romans 5:8 that God proved his own love for us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. So when you are scared or worried or whatever else, I want you to remember the cross. And remember the cross of Jesus proves that our big God is always going to be there, and he has proved his love for you. Thanks for tuning in, Kid City. I hope that you learned something today, and I hope that you will remember how big and amazing and loving our God is. I look forward to seeing you soon. Hope you have a great day.